and welcome to It's a Grand Life. Today, I think you're going to have just a wonderful time. We've got a very special guest with us today. Our granddaughter Grace is with us to share her life experience on what it's like to be part of a grand family. And Grace, welcome to It's a Grand Life.
Hi.
We're so glad you're here, and I bet you're a little nervous. Well, you don't need to be nervous. You're talking to a lot of friends all over the country, and we're just here to encourage all of the kids and grand families like you, right?
Yeah, how is it supposed to make me feel good?
Well, it will make you feel good.
Grace.
So let me ask you a question. So we'd like to welcome you here, Grace, to It's a Grand Life, and this is the podcast for grandparents raising grandkids. And you're going to encourage kids all over the country and what it's like to live in a grand family. So let's talk about a grand family for a minute. Who do you live with?
I live with my grandpa and my grandma.
Is that what they're called, Grandma and Grandpa?
They're called Yaya and Papa.
Yaya and Papa. And what does Yaya mean?
Yaya means head mom or grandma in Greek.
So your Yaya must be Greek.
Yes.
And Papa, everybody knows that just means great human being, doesn't it? Isn't that what Papa means?
No.
What does Papa mean?
Grandpa.
It means grandpa. And you have another great set of grandparents. You have two Papa Craigs. I'm a Papa Craig, and you have another Papa Craig. And your grandma on your dad's side is called Oma. What does Oma mean?
I'm not really sure what Oma means.
But she's a pretty good grandma, right?
I know it means something in like you know how Yaya is in like Greek. I think Oma's in something else.
Maybe German or Polish, something like that. So you just got back from a trip to Wisconsin with Oma and Papa. Had a real nice time, right? You took a ferry across Lake Michigan. And what was that like?
The ferry was pretty good, but I was wearing a hoodie and shorts the whole time. I really wish that I brought my sweatpants because it was freezing in there. It felt like the floor was made of air vents.
Oh, really? Because you had so much wind. Okay. Mm-hmm. So in addition to Yaya and Papa and Oma and Papa, you also get a lot of support by your aunts and uncles. You have Uncle Jimmy, right?
Yeah.
He takes you and hangs out with you in the summer on Tuesdays, right? And he's very funny. Mm-hmm. And very helpful. And you have Uncle Tom and Aunt Debbie, who you're hanging out with on Thursday. So do you feel you have a lot of support in your life? Do you think you have a lot of people that love you?
For sure.
Oh, for sure. So that's really pretty great, isn't it? You know, you're staying with Yaya and Papa, but you got a lot of people that love you, and we have some amazing neighbors, right? And neighbors that have offered to take you to school and different things like that. So so in a grand family,
yeah,
do you think it's important to have support beyond just the grandparents?
Yes.
And it makes your life more. How does that make your life to have knowing that you have another set of grandparents and aunts and uncles and neighbors? What do you think about that?
It makes you feel like if you don't have someone to talk to, like if your grandparents are at work, you have anybody that will just be there for you.
And that's so you've got some unbelievable support. And there was Hillary Clinton once said, it takes a village to raise a child. And that's kind of what we've got going, right? You've got grandparents, you've got aunts and uncles, you've got neighbors, and that's pretty good, isn't? I would say. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay. So, do you go to school?
Yeah.
And did you have a good school year last year?
Yeah.
Tell us about that. What made it a good year?
Just being around with all my friends just made it feel like that you were like loved by not only your family but by your friends, and you got to learn a lot, and it was really fun. My least favorite part was homework.
Oh,
I think
I think whatever family you're in, no kids like homework. But you have had just a tremendous support network with teachers. You had a great teacher last year, and I was really impressed with your friends' parents. I've really enjoyed meeting them, and they have been just great friends to us as well. And in fact, we've had some of your friends' moms on the podcast here. It's a Grand Life. Miss Dr. Bakaszewski was on talking about the wonderful world of diagnostics and dealing with behavioral health issues for children. And she did just a really good job. And you see her daughter all the time. So
she's my best friend.
Your best friend. Well, that is just a beautiful thing. So, but you felt supported at your elementary school, right?
Yeah.
And what about your principal? Do you have a good principal?
He's really, really good.
I think he's terrific, isn't he? What makes him good?
He's really nice, and he thinks of new ways to make days more fun, or like years to be have fun, keep the learning going, but also make it fun in sort of ways. So like they just added a new hammock garden, which is basically like an area that you hang up hammocks, and you get to bring books out. But if you don't want to do hammocks, then you can just play at recess time.
That's nice. But your principal, it seemed like every time I was at the school, he was around. Didn't you feel like that? Like he's always looking out for the kids. But there's a question just came to mind. I wanted to ask you about it. If you were talking to grandparents across the country who are raising their grandkids, how would you encourage them to be better grandparents? What do they need to do to really have a grand family?
I would say just listen to them when they have something to say, because they have something to say. It's probably something that means a lot to them, or like just has something to say that would make them feel better if you would listen to them.
So listening is very important, right? And what happens if there's ever conflict in the house? Do you feel like, pardon me?
No, you can keep going.
I mean, I wonder, is there ever a time in your house with this wonderful Yaya and Papa that you live with? Do we ever have conflict?
Yes.
How do we handle that?
Well, it kind of takes a few seconds, but we usually just end up talking about it and saying sorry to each other, and it just helps more because it just gets everything like we're sorry, but we may still feel mad at each other, but at least we said sorry and they forgave us. So.
And we had my life coach on the podcast. It's a Grand Life a couple months ago, and he's always a big one for cleaning up what he calls messes. So if there's conflict in a relationship or in a family, you always want to clean it up as soon as possible, right? It's a lot like going to the grocery store and someone spills a big thing of applesauce in one of the aisles. The grocery folks are there cleaning that up so fast because they don't want anybody to walk in it. If we don't clean up our conflict, we're leaving a mess for everybody. But we try and do that pretty well, and we sometimes we always try to hug after it, right? And sometimes we'll even pray after it, won't we? Just to ask God to just intervene and get in the middle of this and help us clean up that mess. So that's really good, Grace. I'm so glad you noticed that. And if you just tuned in, our guest today on It's a Grand Life is Grace Nash, our granddaughter, who's here trying to encourage all you grandparents across the country and your grand kids that you can have a grand life. And life isn't always peaches and cream. There is conflict. but you have to address it straight on. And there's an old Bible verse that says, "Don't let the sun go down on your anger." It's the same way in the Grand family. We try to resolve everything, especially at bedtime, don't we?
Yes.
Do things ever get tense at bedtime at our house?
A lot of the time, yes, but I remember one time when you and Yaya had like this eensy bitty fight,
Yaya
and
and I had a fight.
yes, I wanted to say eensy beensy, but it was not that. That's for a fact.
Well, what did Yaya do wrong this time?
No, I think it was that you were saying something and she just keeps going, "No, we didn't talk about this."
Yeah.
No. You just go on and do stuff without talking about it.
Well, sometimes adults need to regroup and they need to share things one with another. And life is busy. And sometimes maybe Yaya moves ahead without sharing something with me, and I might move ahead without sharing things with her. But eventually, we always try to get on the same page. But sometimes there's some rough water, isn't there?
And then Yaya was like, you guys were praying at nighttime, and she was like, "Forgive me for all the bad thoughts I had about my husband." That was the funniest thing ever.
Yes, and isn't that is such a great thing to say. It is so true. If we're honest, sometimes we have bad thoughts, and you can't have a grand family unless you clean that up, right? We can't walk around being angry at one another because we're all human, and sometimes there is a lot of stress in a grand family, and things happen that we don't anticipate, and everyone's trying to make the best of it, and we have to adjust our course. But we're not a perfect grand family, but we're trying to do our best to raise this wonderful grandchild and put her on the right path. And I just want to tell you, you've had just an unbelievable year. You think you had a good year. When before you came to school this year, you had some friends, but now you've got a lot of friends. And Yaya and I didn't know a lot of the friends' parents. Now we know everybody. You've gotten involved in the brownies this year. You have a wonderful brownie leader who's just been very supportive of our grand family and all the wonderful girls that she works with. And it's just really, the year's just really been a blessing, and I can't wait to see what happens next year. But you have a lot of friends, and you have some friends though that have that live. Your friends, many of them live in very differing family situations.
Yeah.
Some they just live with mom, some they just live with dad, some they live with mom and dad, some they live with grandma and grandpa like you, and so there's situations just like you at school or church or anywhere, right?
Yeah.
So you see this all the time, right? It's different, but it's unique, but it's different, but it's not unique. I mean, there's families everywhere where the grandparents are involved, or the aunts and uncles are involved in raising the grandkids. And in fact, I haven't even mentioned to our audience yet that I've recently been asked to join a group called Generations United as one of their grand voices, and this is out of Washington, D.C. It's an organization that supports grandparents raising grandkids all over the country, and I'm really looking forward to that. And there's 85 of us across the country, so you'll be hearing from a lot of these folks in the very near future. In fact, the coordinator of all the grand voices will be on, I believe, next month, and we're really looking forward to meeting her. And she is a lady who is a Native American named Robin Wind, and she is out of Oklahoma. I think she's just going to absolutely be a blessing to you. But here with our granddaughter, Grace. Grace, do you ever go to fun places? Do you, it sounds like between your grandparents and both sides, your aunts, your uncles, your teachers, your friends' parents, that you have a lot of people that love you and support you. And overall, how do you think you're doing in your grand family?
Good.
Good. Is there anything you would want to change in the grand family?
Maybe to have my mom around a little bit.
Having mom around. Yep. We do miss mom, and it would be absolutely great to have her around, and we're looking forward to the day when she is around. And because your mom always liked to bring the music and the laughter, and that's right. And we could always use a little bit more of that. But before we, so if you could speak to kids like you all across the country, and talk to them today, what would you say to them to encourage them in their grand family situation? What would you say to them?
I would say, like, if you're ever missing your parents, just be grateful for what you do have than what you don't have, because you don't know where you would be right now if you didn't have grandparents that love you as much as they do. So I would just say be very grateful for them.
And on behalf of all the grandparents, I can tell you we're grateful for you, because you grandkids bring a ton of joy to our life, and life wouldn't be the same without you. And but to all our grand families out there, I just want to remind you that we're here to try and find as many subject matter experts as possible on It's a Grand Life, so that we can support what you're doing, becoming part of this Generations United group. Hopefully I'm going to become familiar with all sorts of resources that we can pass on to our audience, and just support one another as we continue on this journey. We love you, and we are praying for you. And if you even want to drop us a line, and if you have a prayer request that we can pray for, I've been amazed. Grace, I don't know if you knew this, but we had one of my old friends I used to work with reached out and had a challenging situation with one of her with her daughter, and our It's a Grand Life Facebook family all jumped in and prayed for this lady through this very tough time. In this very divided situation we find ourselves in this country, I've really not met anybody that isn't open to having someone pray for them. And that's the beauty of the Grand Life family. We want to encourage one another and pray for one another. And hopefully we're going to be continuing to provide some excellent resources for the Grand family. So you would tell the kids across the country, hey, be grateful, be thankful, right?
Mm-hmm.
A situation, it could be a whole lot worse, right?
Yeah.
Anything else you want to share with them?
Just say for both halves, just to always listen.
Have mutual encouragement, and everyone listen to what both parties say, because you want to feel like folks are listening to you, right? Yeah. So before we leave today, would you ever consider coming back and sharing with us again? Was this harder or easier than you thought?
Half both.
A little both? Okay. Well, you did a really nice job, and I want you to know I love you, and I am so proud of you. And I can't wait to see what God does in your life. You are really something special. I'm praying for you every day, your friends, your neighbors, your teachers, and our great family every day. And you are living a grand life, and we are too. Mm-hmm. So, Grace, we thank you so much for being our guest here on It's a Grand Life. You've encouraged kids all over, and I'm sure our Grand Life family will be praying for you, and just feeling a little more comfortable that we learned some things today. We need to listen to one another. We need to clean up any conflict quickly, right? And we also need to don't go to bed mad. Work out the situation before your head hits the pillow. So thank you so much for being our guest.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're going to leave it there for today, but we look forward to seeing you next time on It's a Grand Life. And remember, if we can be a blessing to you or pray for you, or if you're going through anything, we are here to encourage you, because we all need encouragement as we are on this journey of the Grand Life. But thank you so much for joining us today on It's a Grand Life. Have a great day. Thank you for joining us for another It's a Grand Life. Remember to never waste your pain. God can use your situation to bless others even halfway around the world. Be sure and subscribe to It's a Grand Life on our Facebook page, as well as YouTube and any of the various podcast channels that feature the Grand Life podcast. When it comes to raising a grand family, remember the words of the Apostle Paul, who said in 1 Corinthians 13, love is patient, love is kind, it always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres. Love never fails. In leading your grand family, it's going to take faith, hope, and a whole lot of love. Please reach out to me. I can be a blessing to you and pray for you, or help you connect to free resources that can make your journey a little easier.